Let me welcome you to the conference this beautiful morning. My name is Mwabu Zenjoko. In the last edition, we looked at so much money going to the subnationals. So there's so much money as it were to play around with. And suddenly, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission had a brainwave and said it needed to pay more money to the president, the vice president, the ministers, the governors, the political appointees, because according to it, since 2008, their salaries have not been reviewed. And according to that commission, things are now tough, warranting a review of what our political appointees take home. That's a very considerate commission. And so this morning, we're looking at that sense of care being exhibited by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Is it right? I will answer that question. I have my guests this morning on the conference, and let me start from my left. Barrister Dr. Eze Chikamnayo, former Commissioner of Information and Strategy in Abia State, and at present is publisher of Nigeria Today magazine. Chikamnayo, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you, my brother.
How is it moving away from government and coming to join us here?
It's a natural transition. I'm still in the information channel, Commissioner of Information, publisher. We are still dealing with the same.
Yeah, from getting the flag to giving the flag.
Exactly.
Let us see the transition as we convert this morning.
Yeah, exactly.
And on my immediate left is Andy Ezane. Andy Ezane, we've been teasing him off camera. Former Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, a product of University of Lagos. I'm very proud of saying that it's a product of University of Lagos. Echo for sure. Andy, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Chief. Good morning, viewers. Good to be here.
While we're off camera, somebody said to me that all the political magic and the language of how to accomplish that magic was designed by you and your colleagues in INEC. Isn't that true?
No, we did a lot of designing, but not really magic. We did not design any magic. We worked according to a process. Maybe the process was not understood along the line one way or the other, but there was no magic involved.
So we didn't understand the process. We are wrong. INEC was very right. Don't mind, we'll know how right INEC was. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have on my extreme left, in red with me, Tochukwu Okorie. He's the Executive Secretary, Provocate. Thank you. Provocate Transparency and Accountability Initiative. Okorie, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And incidentally, today we're looking at accountability
That's important.
and transparency.
That's important.
Thank you very much. Andy, I'm going to start with you. The Conduct Commission, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, just showing incredible milk of human kindness, consideration. And it says, since 2008, the remuneration, the salaries of political office holders for the president downwards have never been reviewed. And that things are now tough, warranting a review. Do you cast your vote for this kind of very kind consideration?
Well, it is not a very straightforward question, and it wouldn't get a straightforward answer. The fact is this: yes, they may be correct if they say that from 2008 there had not been a review. Then if they come from that perspective, then they will be justified in trying to have a review. So to that extent, you can say, yes, it may be right for them to do that. But you cannot do that review in isolation. You have to do that in the system that you are working, in the environment that you are working. You are not, things are not tough only for those who are occupying political positions. For those who are around them in the environment, for those who are outside their gates, have you also reviewed, where they are living? There are those who are in the formal sector, there are those who are in the informal sector, there is the minimum wage and the rest of them. You have to do a comparative analysis. It is when you find out that what the political office holders are taking home does not compare with what others are getting in terms of all they have available to survive, then that is where this your kindness is going to play out. But if you find out that even if you take it back to 2000 or 1998 or 2008, as you said, that what they still have and the access they have to means of survival is still way above what the people who are around them and in the environment are having to survive, then that's your motivation for trying to review that actually becomes very tendentious. It's not quite right, you know. So I think that is what the issue is. If you are going to do that and you are going to find out that what you call minimum wage and what others are going is still far behind and they cannot sustain them, then for those who are on the elite level, who are occupying political position, who are leading by example, it is a very wrong way to start. Invariably, you would have started usually in the society, usually in the world, when you need a lifting hand, you start from the vulnerable ones. You know, that actually is what makes sense. That, I think, is what the issue is.
Okay, let me summarize Andy without removing much from what he said. The Revenue Commission seems to want to increase the gap between the haves and the have-nots.
Precisely, yeah.
Does that occur to you as what they're trying to do?
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you, viewers, for watching. I would also say that there is no straightforward answer to that question. The gap between the rich and the poor has kept widening. It's a fallout of policies, not just this one, several of government policies. But let me say that what RAMFAC, I hope that's what
they call it.
They call the acronym, RMAFC or whatever. What they have done, in my view, is purely political. They have merely included categories like the president and vice president, governors and governor, and to kind of camouflage the real purpose. It is purely political. It is to give more money to certain persons within the structure that they envisage should play a role in 2027. To make them happy, not just to make them happy, to put more money in their hands so they can also do the logistics, election logistics, as it's usually called. All right. I mean, we are all Nigerians. We've all been around, these things, and we know these things happen. So the truth is, there is no sincerity of purpose. And I want to align strongly with the first speaker. If anything at all, you are asking Nigerians to make sacrifice. The president has said severally, you cannot make an omelette without breaking eggs, and so Nigerians should understand that we are repackaging Nigeria, so everybody should make sacrifice. So where is the sacrifice on their own part? Where is the sacrifice on their own part? And nobody should tell me that, okay, what they had before this increase, what they had was not enough for them. You can't tell me that. There's no such argument. You can't tell me that whatever they're receiving officially, I'm even talking about the official standards, was not enough for them. Whereas all the allowances and all the avenues of amassing money, while I'm not encouraging corruption, the fact remains that there are 1,001 ways that monies are being thrown about, and we all know these things. If you are telling me you are plugging the holes, the leakages and all of that, and therefore president or political office holders' access to money has been shrunk, and therefore this and that, it will make a logical sense to a logical mind. But in this case, we are saying, let me put it as a question, are we saying that, they don't have enough to buy food and all of that,
new cars
and all of that? So what are they doing with new cars? As a matter of fact, the one of the strongest arguments against, I mean, for those who criticize government is that this is a government, so to speak, that before they came into power, one of their strongest criticisms of government was that, government was over bloated, profligate government and all of that. And then you now have the opportunity to come to the saddle, and I can't even say whether this government is more profligate than their.
I can't answer the question either.
Maybe I should push it to you.
I can't answer the question. I've always quoted Charles Dickens on this program. Ask no questions and be told no lies. Please, Chikanayo.
Yes.
This president has said again and again to us, all of us, we are in this together to salvage this country. We will experience this hardship as a Nigerian family, so that when the dawn breaks and the good day comes, we'll all be happy together. And we agree. In trying to do this, does the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission consider that we should all be in this together?
Well, for me, I have a major challenge with this proposition at this time, and it has to do with what I would call emotional intelligence. I believe that, like the Bible said, all things are permissible, but all things are not expedient. It is permissible and it's routine for the Mobilization Commission from time to time to have a review of emoluments, as it were, that accrue to different cadres of public officials. But then it's a bit insensitive. That's the word I've been trying to get. A bit insensitive to do that at this time. Nigerians are going through a lot. Let's be factual about it. There is nobody that runs a family. I don't know, all of us here. If you ran a family some few years ago and you are running it now, you know the extent of adjustment you have to make to be able to make ends meet. And then you have the minimum wage debacle that we're just coming out from, 70,000 at the federal level. Some states are trying to adjust upwards now. So how much is 70,000 really worth in real terms for somebody? If I employed some people in my establishment, and the least paid workers, even though it's a private firm, earn much more than 70,000. But even at that, if they have to move from, say, Nyanya, or they have to move from Kubwa or from Lube to come into the
city center
to do your work, sometimes you sit back to imagine, how do they really survive? Because when you just take your calculator and do simple mathematics of their transport in a month, you discover that most of them, if you remove the transport, you may not have up to 10,000 in real terms left. And then so Nigerians are going through a lot. Then I've been in public office severally. I was local government chairman, I was a commissioner in the state, and I had various levels of political exposure. And I know, just like my brother has said, that at that level, nobody is talking about your salary anymore. The governors go home with security votes. Some governors now are so insensitive that they are living with close to 2-3 billion a month. Some are even more than, some as much as 5 billion a month in the name of security vote. And this is money that is completely outside the purview of the accounting system. They still have some other subheads on security, but this is just security vote. So for such a governor, what are you increasing his salary for? It's an insult on the sensibility of the people. Then if you look at the president, why are they setting off the president? Because when I saw that publication, I felt that there must be something the chairman of Revenue Mobilization Commission is not telling us. Because when you're serving somebody, you have to situate it in a context. Is he saying that if he comes out tomorrow and propose an increment in the salary of Tinubu, he has not succeeded in throwing Tinubu up for a whole lot of unnecessary criticism, opening his flanks? So does Tinubu need an increment in salary? I'm not sure President Tinubu proposed that to him. I think he's going on an errand that nobody actually sent him. Then if he's talking down the line, so if we are talking about increment of any sort, just like the pyramid, somebody say you have to go where there's a lot of, where the pressure is at the base, and do everything possible, which I think that's what everybody should do, that is in any position where you're paying salaries and the rest. If you see any leverage or any kind of gap, you are supposed to shore up the emoluments of the people below, because the people are above. A minister, for instance, who travels and gets extra code for every journey, and who possibly goes into Lagos, there is a guest house of the ministry waiting, and all of that. Yes, you can say politically we go through a lot of challenges of pressure from dependents, from constituents, from friends, from all sorts. But that's not a parameter upon which you can base an increase salary. So my take is that, sincerely speaking, I'm not in agreement with any form of increment, or any form at all of increment in any of the political offices. Rather, I'm thinking that we should become more human. The entire political elite, myself inclusive, in Nigeria, need to go into some level of introspection. We need to lock ourselves up in a room, as it were, and then if we can't lock ourselves together, we need to go individually and advise ourselves as to the level of disconnect. There's a certain disconnect that is going on gradually between the political class
and reality
and the community where we serve, and there's a particular level of hatred that is being developed gradually in the heart of the people, that sometimes I even wish I don't have anything to do with political office again. Since I left political office and I came to manage my own business, I've had a lot more peace of mind. I struggle, I do business, and I earn the little money I go, and every money is legitimate. Those ones are also, they're not robbers because they're paid for services. But the truth is that the money I earn now as a publisher, probably I go through the mails and publish and I earn my living. Somebody doesn't tell me you have stolen money. Meanwhile, I may be making more money now than I was making when I was in the. In fact, I'm making more money now than I was making when I was public office. But if I come to my village and I call my umunna or call any of the people and I give him 10,000, you know what it tells me? That 10,000 may be my salary that I've sacrificed. He said, after all, what else could you have done? It's our money. He doesn't seem to offer me any appreciation. In fact, he believes that the 10,000 I've given him is not even
it's nothing compared to what we have access to.
This is their money. Any money that comes. So if I tell him I work the same 24 hours like my brothers here, and that it's my salary I'm giving, say stop deceiving us. It's our money. So that's the challenge. But a private person that comes to give him 5,000, he say, Chief, thank you very much. So being in public office, when we don't connect with the people, is an ill wind. It serves, it blows, because it means that, and it is necessary that people must be in public office, because we are not going to exist in a state of anarchy. It's necessary that we have an organized society where people play various. I was before we came on set, I was just smiling when you were trying to throw some jabs at our brother here from INEC. What offense has he committed to have worked in INEC? He could have worked in NNPC, he could have worked at AREA or at IHOM.
It's even better he didn't work in NNPC.
So what offense? He just happened to have gone and he has rendered service to our people. We couldn't have had an organized society without an electoral body. But then the fact that he passes through INEC, whatever image that is given to INEC as a body,
he carries it as a badge.
He carries that load, and sometimes for life. Look at our policemen. There are a lot of very sincere, very upright extremely hardworking policemen all over this country. Same goes with our soldiers, but policemen in particular. If you come and say, I'm the son of a policeman, people turn around and look at you.
And ask you when you accept the next bribe.
And they will say, you were trained with bribe money. They will even say you are trained with cost money. So this brings us to one fact, that those at Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission should stop setting up the political class. Let them roll back their favor. Thanks but no thanks. Let them go back with it. Let us not do anything to further provoke and agitate, as it were, the very fragile, very fragile and sensitive scenario that we have.
Andy, there's something I'm interested in, but I'll come to you after I would have asked Okorie, because he also has managed politicians sometime in his life. In determining reward structure, because that's what Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission is trying to do. Let us reward this class of people for the job they are doing in running the country. Okorie, in looking at national reward structure, society's reward structure, shouldn't there be certain considerations? What is your input into running the society? What value, what premium does society put on that input? Why I ask the question is this: the president, as of today, I'm told, his salary is about 1.8 million naira, whatever that is. Let me accept that should be his salary. In the reward structure, what should a professor be earning? In the reward structure, what should be a sergeant in the police force be earning? In the reward structure, what should be the salary of an intelligence officer who plants himself and his life in the midst of terrorists, criminals, to safeguard everybody? What should be the reward of the security man at the gate who stays there 24 hours? Shouldn't it be a holistic assessment, so that you receive as you give? What should be the consideration?
There is a whole lot of inverse logic in the way we manage resources in this country, and it's not just this topic gives me goosebumps, because I fail, again, let me repeat myself, I fail to understand the rationale if it's not just mere politics. This psychophancy, see that psychophancy, you want to impress the president or impress whoever, or there is a tacit instruction that, look, let these classes of politicians get money, okay, but to cover the real reason, also include me, okay, just to increase my own a little, but let this, if it's either of those two, that the chairman of RAMFAC and his team are just playing psychophancy and all of that to the disadvantage of the president and the rest of the people in his team, like my brother said, because you are setting him up for criticism. Because I find it difficult to see or to believe that the chairman RAMFAC could have gone on his own to do this without the overt or covert approval, the tacit approval of the president. He can't do that. He doesn't have the powers to do that. And I don't even know whether such increment or such reviews are subject to legislative review, whether the National Assembly has any role to play. But in any case, you asked a question, what should be our reward system be? In this country, we reward people based on class, which brings me to the issue of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. He has talked about security votes at certain level. And if you look deeply, you will see that that concept of security vote has even started trickling down to even ministers having security votes, directors having security votes. Everybody at the budgetary that has any level of budgetary control will award himself security vote. Okay, which legitimizes corruption, because now it has a name, security vote. Okay, so what are we saying? Like you suggested, the policing system in this country is so corrupt because these people receive pays that don't take them home. They take home pays, like they call it, but that can hardly take anybody from one point to the other. Yet they are not the first in line when it comes to consideration for review of salaries. These are people whose only other access to money is the one they collect from drivers on the road, or they extort from so-called Yahoo boys. Of course, if they saw any young person that's carrying a laptop or using an expensive phone,
they arrest them.
Automatically a Yahoo person, and then they begin to look into your account and extort money. So you are giving them legitimate reason to go that route. Okay. Now, so to answer your question more directly, we ought to have a rethink about the way now. Every season, rather, ASU is either on strike or is planning to go on strike. Nurses and midwives are either on strike or they are planning to go on strike. Resident doctors are either on strike or they are planning to go on strike. Every segment of our working class, they are always agitating for just small increments, small consideration in allowances, and nobody is giving them. Nobody is paying attention. Every day there is negotiation. Okay, we are negotiating. What are you negotiating? Now, by the pronouncement, by the removal of subsidy, there has come to be at least more money. Please, sir, let this money reflect in our reward system for lower cadre of public service. Let the doctors have more money. Let the nurses have more money. Let the teachers, let the primary school teachers have more money. A level 12 teacher, a level 14 teacher is earning below 100,000
in the states.
At the state level. So this is
and he has raised a very strong issue. ASU is threatening to go on strike. We negotiate year after year. Some states have not even paid the minimum wage of 70,000 naira, and the commission is considering just a class. Our two colleagues have said this could be a setup. I do not want to call it a setup, but I worry about that policy. The likely consequence if a salary review is announced today, when the governor's salary is announced to have gone some 2-3 notches up, and the governor is still owing unpaid pensions because he's going to draw that salary from the state resources. The 70 minimum wage he has not started implementing. The schools are dilapidated. The health care is anything but a health care facility, and the governor of course flies overseas to look after himself, and when he returns he gets to hear that he now gets more salary for owing me my pension, for getting the salaries unpaid. And by the way, some governors have not even cleared backlog of old salaries, legitimate salaries. What is the likely consequence of this?
Well, the likely consequence is that sooner or later, we are heading somewhere. There's going to be a major crisis in this land. There is no doubt about it. I don't know when it will come, but it will likely come. Because let me tell you what is increasingly happening is that we do not have any sense of responsibility or obligation to the people anymore. Nobody in what we call public service, quote and unquote, that expression is an anomaly. There is no service in that. Nobody is servicing anybody anymore. And we are heading to that point where people who are in position believe and they know that the people who they are supposed to serve actually do not exist and there's nothing they can do. And that's the truth of the matter. And when a colleague here spoke, he said, there is developing a certain animosity, a certain anger. And it is going to explode somewhere, because when you take people for granted for a very long time that they cannot do anything, I don't want to open another line of discussion and all that will even lead to pointing fingers that may not come exactly to me at the point or any other person. But what it means is that people believe that no matter whatever I do, you cannot even move me out of that seat. And when public service becomes that nobody can move you from the place where purportedly you were elected or put into, and those who put you there can no longer remove you, they will have to find an alternative means of getting you out, and it will eventually come. And so what is playing out now is actually a very dangerous situation that is coming up. What the government and those who are in government do at the moment, which they think they are getting away with it, is that when people raise a very serious issue of concern about their state of being, you either shout them down or you also mobilize a counter force that drown whatever they are saying. You are not trying to actually find a means of addressing that problem, but by shouting them down, you believe that you have bought yourself more time, and then you head towards renewing your being on that seat one way or the other. At some point in time, something has to give. So the proposal to actually increase the salary or the pay of people who are in a political position is extremely insensitive, is extremely uncalled for. And if indeed we owe obligation in public service to the people around who put us there, I don't see how anybody can actually think of this now. This is the least thing that we should be thinking about. I also have a different perspective on the labor union and the rest of the unions, asking for give us more money, give us more money. I'm not always inclined to that give us more money. You bring more money and the more money gets you nothing. So I'm looking at the position, the situation where they are going to come at a certain level, where they are going to say, give us houses, give us more services in terms of transportation, give us all the things that the food, we are no longer talking about, people can no longer buy the food. So if I give you and increase the minimum wage, which we can't even get the 70,000 paid, assuming that you even make it 700,000, and then one bag of rice automatically costs 1 million. Then it makes nothing again now. So what are you doing with the money? People should be more concerned with, we're agitating for you to make sure that there is a provision for food. We're assuming for you to make sure, of course, we no longer discuss mass housing and all that kind of thing. They are no longer, what we hear in governance today. But that's the type of thing they should be asking for. Secure yourself shelter, secure yourself food, secure yourself health. We have a public health system, and anybody who had tried to use that thing that they call what do they call it, the health thing that they make for people, when you go to hospital, that thing, primary health whatever it is, when you go there, I think it can guarantee you only paracetamol. Invariably you can get nothing out of that situation. But we all know that is not what obtains in serious societies. We all know that people who work for government, who work in public service, actually have their health services guaranteed. It is there. We know that the food is there, that the people, that's what actually secures the ordinary people in the society.
And keep society stable.
Keep the society stable, so that then the political class can then afford to play and do what they like. But you can't afford to play and do what you like when the majority of the people are not eating, they are not secured. Why would they not be stealing and mugging people and killing and whatever it is? It's insecure for everybody. That is the danger that is coming. I don't know how people are reasoning, but we all, the elite should be worried.
Yes, okay, we want to make a contribution.
Talking about elite being worried, I saw a picture or even a video of a scenario that made me really think. You know, I laughed, chuckled, and all of that. But then there's this public official that I saw in the church, and then I saw security men standing.
While the service was on,
worship was going on. They were doing like this, looking this way and that, you know.
Inside the church?
Inside the church. The big guy was seated, and the boys all over from the door to where he was seated. He's seated like this, somebody is standing by his side, and he's doing this way. Why is that? And let me also remind us that insecurity was exacerbated, especially in the southeast, because certain category of persons felt shortchanged. Now, this is not about ESN or IPO and all of that, because I know of a story of people just targeting certain kinds of vehicles. It didn't matter who was inside. There were certain kinds of vehicles that they will see. They will say, "This is a politician," and they will face you with AK-47. It didn't matter whether you genuinely
bought your vehicle,
the money with which you bought your vehicle, but you had come to become a target. They are not looking for you to give them.
That's a symbol of their operation.
That is not armed robbery. They are not interested. They just want to kill you. Symbol of exasperation. Symbol of frustration.
Okay, but my take is that just sorry.
Why that is not sorry, sir? Why that is not justified by any?
No. But
I'm just trying to.
We're headed to
that. What we're saying about going somewhere is something that is avoidable. This kind of thing is avoidable. Political office holders should not throw it in our faces that they are living big off our money, of our commonwealth, our common patrimony.
And the Revenue Commission wants them to live bigger.
This group of people are now, further, bastardizing our sensibilities by this kind of nonsense.
Yes, you were trying to say something.
Yes, I'm saying that it's difficult to place this in just around the political class. If you take a deep and very cursory look at what is going on, you find out what we need in this country is what I will call ethical revolution. The political class you're talking about is people, all of us are in the political class. It's a matter of rotation of these seats. We'll keep moving. Everybody here is a politician. And everybody here will rotate into one political position or the other, either by default or by design. But if you remove everybody that is in public office now and go to this same street and bring another fresh set of Nigerians into this
and put them there,
they will continue.
Oh, our turn.
Because
it's our turn.
It has been established.
It's our turn. Let us. They will become more vitriolic, more bullish, more intolerant. Let me give you an instance. There was a time we were able to get the age required for certain positions. We brought them down, and that afforded us the opportunity of having some young governors and young
commissioners, young public office holders.
All of us here, I don't want to mention them. We saw some of the young governors that emerged, some in their late 30s, some in their early 40s, or much younger. And we saw that, what the other elderly governors were still trying to do in the
closet.
They now did it with much more
on the stage,
impunity and brazenness
and ferocity.
Now, if you go to the students, the other day you saw it on the social media, where student union elections were being conducted, and people were being, brutalized, and gunshots were ringing everywhere inside the schools. And of course, there was that advertisement also where a student union president had a list of his appointees.
SSA.
250 or something.
About 250 of them. So it's not a matter of profiling a particular
Class.
strata, sediment of the society and say the politicians, the political class. It's a matter of going back to Romans 12, verse 1. Be ye transformed
The renewal
by
of
the
your mind.
renewal of your mind. We need an ethical revolution. We need a governor, a president who will come into that seat and make part of his major, go to what one of our brothers, even though I disagree with the fact that he came to power through the rule of the gun in our neighboring country,
Niger.
Burkina Faso.
Okay.
The young man there, if I was going through a documentary in the YouTube day before yesterday, and I saw that in Burkina Faso today, first of all, they removed all the foreign contractors. They took away the whole Bretton Woods structures and institutions, and then the citizens wake up and go to the presidential villa in the palace. If you finish as a security man, you finish as a banana seller, you finish as a cobbler, you go and they sleep all around the presidential palace. And you ask them, what are you doing? They say, we don't want this particular president
To protect the president.
to die. We don't want what happened to Thomas Sankara to happen to him. He has restored our dignity. He has brought us back to our sanity. How I wish, sometimes when I look back at the 80s, and just a minute, and I see what happened when those days we were in school and there was war against indiscipline, and you go to Lagos and you are no longer jumping inside the mole like a monkey, and you see everybody, waiting for their time and turn to enter the bus, and you saw that little period
Window here.
of maybe 6 months, show that all that we need is a leader that will come, lead from the
Has an idea of what he wants to do.
Leader, politics. Go ahead.
No, lead from, because you see, there has to be a conviction. It's not about politics. It's about getting a leader who walks into that seat and say, I want to make a reorientation. It's not about having an orientation
Agency.
No. It's about the president coming up, somebody going into that seat, no matter how he comes in. For instance, in Burkina Faso, the man came through the gun, which arguably almost all of us here would say that's a British way of getting
Accessing power.
So whether the person came through the manicured or pedicured ballot box, or he came through the gun, but we need, I pray every day for that Nigerian leader that will, however he happens into that seat, will sit back and say, now I want to turn things
Around.
and I want to
Like
Diko attempted to do.
I want to make
Right.
it. Look, Nigerians, I have declared my assets. Yes, all of these assets I acquired them, like he's saying, I acquired them as a governor of Katsina State, probably rightly or wrongly, but I've declared them and I'm forfeiting this asset. As you are saying it, I'm going back to what I should have had if I was an ordinary, reasonable working adult. Now that I've done it, Mr. Vice President,
You must do the
you
same.
must do the same. SLG, you must do the, and the moment I can assure you that the moment Nigerians see integrity in what he's doing, see sincerity of purpose, sees that his children and his relatives and his friends do not get any form of preferential treatment, Nigerians are very easy. Nigerians are waiting. Nigerians are willing, and we need this ethical revolution more than we need answers. We need it more than we need any form of riot or destruction of our public institutions. What we need is a turnaround of our thinking. There has to be some form of surgical, surgical
Brain surgery.
Yes, the inverted commas, opening and close. The way we think, our mindset. If you don't do this quickly enough, this ethical revolution I'm talking about, our children, these boys you are seeing here, all these youths you are seeing there, they don't want to work. They don't even want to read and study the way all of us know how studies are done. They want everything now now. They want everything through the shortcut, and they tell you, look, see, in Igbo Palace, pardon me, they say, "Achom ego mbute."
Not small one.
I don't want to waste time. I want to happen. So, and now people are being butchered. You see videos of young people killing. Cannibalism is coming into our society. Conscience is being completely seared and destroyed. You know, any form of consideration for the neighbor
is out of the question.
There must be that thing that want to happen, like he says, something will happen. I'm praying, sir. Let this thing that will happen be
not violent.
Be an ethical revolution. Let it be that all of us, having concluded that this we have all gotten it all wrong, will, from among the political class, maybe let's have a group of people that will engineer some level of ethical revolution.
Some level of ethical revolution. My producer says I've gone halfway. I should take a break, and I'll do just that. But is the step taken by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission in consideration of the consequences of giving political class more money? Can the political class itself reject this offer? Where does the National Assembly come in this matter? Can the president himself bail the cat and call the commission to order? That will be the second part. Please stay with us. Thank you very much, and welcome back. Andy, before we took this very short break, Chikam Nayo said, why don't you drink a cup of coffee? Chikam Nayo, the weather in Abuja, the temperature is rising. It was very cold about 2 weeks ago. I don't think a coffee will do you good. What do you make you feel cool? Maybe a banana?
Coffee is always good. And Abuja weather is so dramatic that it fluctuates like the pendulum. If you give us coffee, it's better than the banana.
Well, Andy, the revenue mobilization, is it thinking of the consequence of what it is about to do? If it fails to think, isn't there an institution that is draw it back and say, look, you are leading us into temptation? And Chikam Nayo gave a very strong profile of who can get things changed. Somebody with a clear value comes in and says, we cannot be doing things this way. And I begin with myself. Can the president not call revenue mobilization to order?
Well, I don't know whether I can speak for the president, whether he can call them to order, but the first question you ask is the revenue mobilization, whether did they think of the consequences? The answer is no, they did not think about the consequences. The follow-up comment is that they couldn't have thought about consequences because in this very society now, there is never consequences. You don't have consequences for any action. And that is the truth. So they couldn't have thought about what does not exist and what doesn't often come up. You can, if you're occupying public position in Nigeria today, you can actually get away with anything. And we all see it happening, whether it is at the level of even the security agencies, at the police or the governors or at the presidency or at other lesser positions. People do things that we know that are out of the way. The things are done in the public service. And nothing happens. In fact, a common expression that comes is that nothing will happen. You have had that,
and nothing really happens.
And nothing happens. So how do you run a system where people who are in public positions do things and say nothing will happen, and nothing happens? So revenue mobilization, in making this proposal, definitely did not think about consequences, because definitely there will be no consequences. So the question you ask, can the president call them to order? Me, I don't know. I've never been president before. I don't know whether this one will call them to order. Will the National Assembly call them to order? I've not been there, but I know the answer is that they will not. Now, why do I say that? Because you are going to ask yourself, the thing that revenue mobilization proposed to do, is it out of sync with what actually exists in terms of appropriating money at the at the legislature? I mean, we have gone through appropriation and budget, and we all hear all sorts of things. You know, some of them very unfortunate, some of them you don't know whether they are really true or not. You talk about the paddings of the budget, you talk about, you know, appropriating money that actually make no sense to any sane person. And so who calls who to order? You know, these are some of the things that when I said earlier on, and I said in public service today, there is no service in it at all.
No, but I'm a little hurt. I'm a little hurt by what you're profiling, institutional profiling. Okore, every year the National Assembly appropriates. It sees the quantum of money the Nigerian establishment is investing in offices. It knows how much goes to the president. It knows how much should be going to the governor. It knows how much goes to the governors. It knows how much goes for remuneration. It knows how much is needed to protect all of us. So the National Assembly knows. Therefore, the allocation of resources and prioritization is on the table of the legislature. They know. If the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission decides, wakes up and says it wants to shift resources in a particular direction, the National Assembly knows. And National Assembly knows the needs of the nation. If those needs, if Ramfak's move is not in sync with those needs, the institution that should raise the red flag should be National Assembly. Can't we task? Are they without feelings? Are they without understanding? Or they don't care really? These fears raised by two of our colleagues that something may happen.
The buck stops at somebody's desk to start with. But before I address that frontally, there's something he raised that I think needs a bit of a response. Yes, we are all politicians, and the table moves round, and we will all become like. But eventually, I'm happy. Eventually, he still got back to the same point. The solution must come from the politicians, not because in Igbo aphorism there is this saying that when a goat is eating
chewing cord,
the
little goat is watching his mouth. And that is our worst nightmare in this country. That's the bane of leadership in this country. Look, he also raised the issue about younger people not wanting to work. Why would they work when all you need to do is carry gun for the politician? Just come and say, or you say, I'm ready to work for you, Oga.
You are my boss forever. Nothing do you, and you do that, and you just get by. You understand? Why would they work? They are seeing a thug, an unschooled. I don't want to be modest on set. And all that he does is follow this politician around. Kill for him, name for him.
Then suddenly he arrives.
And then you see him becoming local government chairman, you see him becoming commissioner, you see him becoming, and even eventually gets to become governor. When will the cycle end? Why should the cycle end? So at the end of the day, it boils down to either, the system changing one way or the other, violently or ethically, like he has suggested. And yes, I was making reference to former president Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. His tenure was unfortunately cut short by death, but in the short period that he stayed in office, one legacy he left was that statement, that admission he made publicly that the system that brought him
to power
was flawed, and he was going to do something about it. Whether he lived up to doing that eventually or not is a different thing. But that brings me to reinforcing what my colleague has said. We need to come to that point where we need to pray to God to give us that leader.
No, see, pray. Please.
Wait. I said that. Thank
you. Because praying and praying. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Pray and work.
Let me tell you why I said prayer. Because at the end of the day, I believe in God, and I believe God still has the final say over these things. Because how can you look up to anybody in a society that is endemic with corruption? How can you look up to man? We have come to a point of despondency where you can no longer look up to anybody to make a change. And then you can only resort to praying, because it will take God to bring the kind of leader he's talking about. Whether, and I said this, it is going to be whether by the ethics example or by
the ethical revolution of Chikamnayo.
I'm talking about ethical revolution. Somebody has said, if you want to hope for that kind of revolution, then you will hope forever.
No.
I don't want to go that route. That is why I
yes, because my producer says don't bust the time. Don't bust the time.
Let's just leave it at that. That we need leadership to take the lead. And if indeed, he cited the example of Burkina Faso, which is a live example. If the leader takes the lead, the people will follow.
Thank you, Chikamnayo. I apologize to you because my producer says I've overshot already. They are even going to have to edit to accommodate us within 1 hour. I didn't even know 1 hour is already spent. An interesting conversation, all provoked by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Conclusion, please think again before you lead us into temptation. My name is Kumar Bojenjoku. Let me thank my colleagues who have found the time to be with me today. The conference will come day after day. For this edition, good morning.